Hey, this is Mr. P. This video, I'm going to go over 10.2 examples. I'm going to assume that you have seen the previous video where I went over the concepts for 10.2 and any concepts that apply from 10.1. So what you should see on the screen is a Hawks example. So mainly I wanted to show this two things. Well, obviously to learn the content and understand it. And second thing is to show you Hawks and how you would put your answers in using the software. So I'm not going to do every single question. Now you'll see I'm in a practice. I said that practice is pretty much like the certify, gives you examples that are almost like pretty much the same. It's just the numbers are different. So I'm going to go through a couple of these problems in the practice. And hopefully after I've done that, you'll have a good feel for doing the problems yourself in the certify. So this example, question 1 of 9, it says, again, I'm not going to go through every question, but just enough so that you can get an idea how to put the stuff in Hawks and then also understand it. So it says find the y-intercept and x-intercept for the linear equation, and it gives you 10x plus 2y equal to 10. And then you'll notice here it has y-intercept and x-intercept. Okay, so you should at this stage know what those are. So recall x-intercept, it's a point on the x-axis, which means that the y-coordinate of the point is 0. So it's going to have some number, let's say some x value, and then 0 for the y value. And so for the y-intercept, it's a point on the y-axis, and so it's going to have 0 for the x-coordinate, and then some number for the y-coordinate, and I'm just going to use the letter y for whatever that number is. So I could go ahead in Hawks and put in, well, we know for the y-intercept, it's 0 for its x-coordinate, and we know for the x-intercept, it's 0 for its y-coordinate. All right, so we actually already know those right off the bat. Now the equation is 10x plus 2y equal to 10. All right, and remember this is a general form, so it has the form of ax plus by equal to c. So that's the general form that I talked about in the concepts. All right, so I'm going to find these intercepts. I'll do the x-intercept first. So because the x-intercept has 0 for its y-coordinate, you're going to substitute or let y equal to 0. All right, so let's do that. So x-intercept, you let y equal to 0, and you plug it into the equation. So instead of 10x plus 2 times y equal to 10, it'll be 10x plus 2 times 0 equal to 10. Okay, so I would pause the video, write this down real quick. Let me write this R a little bit better. So that's supposed to say recall. So recall that the x-intercept is the point x comma 0. It has 0 for its y-coordinate. That's where the point is on the x-axis. The y-intercept is the point that has 0 for its x-coordinate. That's where the point is on the y-axis. The example is 10x plus 2y equal to 10. So I'll pause it right now, write that down. And 10x plus 2y equal to 10 is of the general form. So we know it's a line because it has the general form for a line. Now what we're trying to do is just find the two intercepts. And for the x-intercept, because it has 0 for its y-coordinate, you substitute or let y equal to 0 into the equation. And that gives us 10x plus 2 times 0 equal to 10. Now the 2 times 0 is 0. And so that term goes away because that's 0. And you're left with 10x equal to 10. And if I want x by itself, I need to get rid of the 10 in front of the x. So I need to divide by 10. All right, so I cancel them out. Really, that's 1x, but we just don't write the 1 in front of it. We just write it as x. So technically it's 1x. Again, we just write as x. It's understood that 1x is the same as x. All right, we just don't write the 1 next to the variable because it gets redundant to do that. Okay, so 10 divided by 10 is 1. So this is x equal to 1. That means the x-intercept is 1, comma 0. And we have 0 for its y-coordinate. Now, that is for the x-intercept. I guess I can go ahead and go to Hawks and put in 1 here. Oh, sorry, that was me mistyping something. So putting in 1, and it's 1, comma 0, x-intercept, and notice the point pops up. The same thing's going to happen when I type in the coordinate, y-coordinate for the y-intercept. The point will pop up, and then hopefully it'll connect the two dots to form the line. All right, so the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 0 for the x-coordinate. So for the y-intercept, we let x be 0. And again, we're always plugging it into this equation. For the problem is 10x plus 2y equal to 10. So plugging 0 in for x will be 10 times 0 plus 2y equal to 10. What's 10 times 0? That's 0. So this goes away because that's 0, and you're left with 2y equal to 10. All right, and then I need to get y by itself. So to get rid of the 2, I have to divide by 2. So that 10 divided by 2 is 5. So you get y equal to 5. So that means the y-intercept is 0, comma 5, because in the x-coordinate for the y-intercept is always 0. So this is the y-intercept. All right, so let me type that in. So I just got to put a 5 here. And notice it popped up with point A, and then it creates the line for me. I don't actually have to do anything there. It just forms the line. So hopefully that's correct. I'm going to hit submit answer. Okay. Now, a lot of these problems, I'm going to be doing it like this. I will be finding the two intercepts. So let me do a couple more. So hopefully you get an idea by many examples. Hang on. Okay, so I'm going to go to another question. And this one, I'm going to pretty much, I guess I'll work it out. And then you're going to pick the letter choice that resembles the line. And so it says use your knowledge of x and y intercepts to choose the correct graph of the equation. And so these are the options. And then in this box here, you're going to enter the appropriate letter for the graph, meaning either A, B, C, or D. And the problem is 4x minus y equal to 4. So I'm going to work it out first, like if I were doing it by hand. So 4x minus y, what did I say, was equal to 4. All right, so let's first find the x-intercept. Again, the x-intercept has 0 for the y-coordinate, so it's going to be some x value, and then 0 for y. And so because it's 0 for y, I let y equal to 0 in the equation. And the equation is 4x minus y equal to 4. So it'd be 4x minus 0 equal to 4. Well, the minus 0, that goes away because that's just 0. So you're just left with 4x equal to 4. And then I need to get rid of the 4 in front of the x. I'm going to divide by 4. And again, 4 divided by 4 is 1. I'll have technically 1x, but we don't write the 1. We just write it, you could write it as 1x, and that is correct. But because of redundancy, we just write it as just x. All right, and then 4 divided by 4 is 1, so you get x equal to 1. So that means the x-intercept is 1, 0. All right, so I'm going to use that as one of the points to plot. Now the y-intercept, so that's going to have the form 0 for its x-coordinate and then some y value. So the point is that it has 0 for the x-coordinate. So you let x be 0. And you plug it into the equation. In this case, the equation was 4x minus y equal to 0. So I'm going to do 4 times 0. And then minus y equal to 4. And the 4 times 0 is 0, so that goes away. That's 0. And you're left with negative y equal to 4. Now the negative y, if you want to, you could write this. Negative y is the same thing as negative 1 times y. And so that reinforces that to get rid of the negative sign, it's really negative 1. And we have to divide by negative 1. And then so the negatives 1 divide out. And so we're doing division because negative y is the same thing as negative 1 times y. And you want to undo the multiplication of negative 1 times y by dividing by negative 1. And so I divide both sides by negative 1. I get y equal to, and then any number divided by 1 gives you that same number, but because it's a negative 1, it's going to be negative 4. All right, so that means the y-intercept is 0, negative 4. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So here's the work for both intercepts. And then this is the equation. And now I'm just going to graph the line, do a rough sketch of it, and then pick the answer choice that looks most like it. All right, so first to draw the coordinate system, and I'll do like 5 tick marks, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 5 tick marks in the negative direction, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, and then going down, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. All right, so the 2 points were 1, 0, and 0, negative 4. So let me do the first point, call that A. So 1, 0 is at 1 on the x-axis. And second point I'll do in green, call that B, and that's 0, negative 4. That's at negative 4 on the y-axis. So right here. And then I connect the 2 dots. All right, so that's the picture of the line. It's hand drawn. And so I'm going to hopefully find an answer choice that looks most like this one. And so our answer choice, well, first thing it was going, notice from the drawing, it's going up from left to right. And since it's going up from left to right, I can go ahead and eliminate A and B. So that leaves me with C and D. And then also notice that for answer choice D, where hopefully you see my mouse, it's crossing at 1 for X. And then the Y-axis, it's crossing down here, which is at -4. So the answer choice would be D. Okay. Now the rest of these, it's going to be just, so you're going to drag 2 points, where like you put 2 dots and then it should form the line for you. Now, this one example is one of the slope-intercept form, which I haven't done yet. But I'm going to do it the same process. I'm going to find the intercepts. All right, so this one is y equal to -1/4 x minus 2. And I'm just saying this has the form y equals mx plus b. That's called slope-intercept form. We'll go in more detail of that in section 10.3, but just know it has that form. Like m is -1/4 and b is -2. So we know it's a line based on that form. All right, so I'm going to graph it using the intercepts. So x-intercept, we know, has some x coordinate, some value for x, and always has 0 for y. So because it has 0 for y, I let y equal to 0 in the equation. And the equation is this. Now y, I just had it in red by mistake. It's supposed to be all in the same color. But that's what I'm putting 0 in. So it'll be 0 equal to, so instead of y equals, it's 0 equals. And then -1/4 x minus 2. And then I solve for x. Now, what I could do is I could add 2 to both sides, and you'll have try to get x by itself on the right side. So let me do that. And when I get x by itself, it just happens that x is on the right side of the equation. So I'm going to keep it there. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. That'll give me 2 equal to -1/4 x, because the 2 and -2 cancel out. Now the problem is I have this -1/4 in front of the x, and I need to get rid of it. And with fractions, let's say this is like an aside. When dividing, because we need to divide, right? Because it's -1/4 times x, and you would divide by -1/4. But with fractions, division can be done as a multiplication. So when dividing by a fraction, let's say a over b, this can be done by multiplying by what's called the reciprocal. But all a reciprocal is just the inversion of the fraction. So instead of a over b, it'll be, sorry, b over a. And why we do that is because A over B dividing by A over B is the same thing as A over B times B over A. And then that equals 1, because you'll have, I like kind of sort of like cross canceling, but that's the wrong terminology. Notice I have a B here and a B here, one on the numerator of one fraction and one on the denominator. Those will essentially divide each other out. And then notice I have an A in the numerator and an A in the denominator here. Those would divide out. So they divide out, but it's not like nothing's there. It just divides into 1. All right, so I'm going to use this aside. You want to write that down. Maybe that'll help. Now in the problem, I have a fraction -1 over 4. And so I said we could divide by -1/4, but that's the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. So let me put some space here. So the reciprocal of -1 over 4, you invert it, and it's -4 over 1. And that's what I multiply by. But what I do on one side, you have to do on the other side. So I also need to multiply the left side by -4 over 1. All right, and 4s are going to divide out. Negative times negative is positive, so the negative sign goes away. The ones are going to divide out, and you just have x is left over. Now, when I do -4 over 1 times 2, this is the same thing as basically doing -4 times 2, because -4 over 1 is -4, and then -4 times 2 is -8. All right, so I got all that to be x, and that's the x-intercept. So the x-intercept is -8, 0. Yeah, so I zoomed out some. So you could write that down. Those are the steps to get the x-intercept. Essentially, I had to add 2 to both sides, and I got 2 equal to -1 over 4x, and I needed to get rid of the -1 over 4 that's next to the x. You would divide by -1/4, but that's the same thing as multiplying by -4 over 1, because -4 over 1 is the reciprocal of -1 over 4. And with fractions, you do division by changing it to a multiplication problem, and where you multiply by the reciprocal of that fraction. Now the y-intercept, that's going to have the form some 0 for its x-coordinate and then some number for y. And so I have to plug in 0 for x. All right, so I let x equal to 0. And I'm plugging it into that original equation. Original equation was y equal to -1/4 x minus 2. So where I see x, I'm plugging 0 in. So you get y equal to -1/4 times 0 minus 2. All right, but -1 over 4 times 0 is 0. Any number times 0 is 0. So then I have y equal to 0 minus 2, and the 0 term that goes away. And that just leaves me with the y equal to -2. So that means the y-intercept is 0, -2. Okay, zoom out. So I have that point, and I have the other point. I can plot the 2 points, connect them with the line, and I get a rough idea of what the picture should look like, and then I'm going to try to do the line in Hawks. So let's see a rough picture of what it should be. So I have 0, -2 and -8, 0. Say I use that as point A, and let's say point B is the y-intercept 0, -2. All right, so let me draw a coordinate system. I need to go enough tick marks so that I can have -8. And let's say I go to 10 tick marks on each part. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I notice these tick marks aren't evenly spaced, so it's going to be a rough looking line, but I think it helps to get the picture drawn first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so point A, -8, 0. So I go to the left 8 units, starting at 0, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that puts me there. That's point A. And then point B, 0, -2. So that's at -2 on the y-axis. And then I connect them. Okay, so this is just a rough picture of what the line should look like using those intercepts. Now I'm going to graph it in Hawks using the same 2 points. All right, so what I'm going to do is click on the spot for the 2 points. Like, let's say I do point A first, -8, 0. So I'm going to go back to Hawks. I want to go to where -8 is. And then this is why it gets kind of complicated. So I clicked on that. And then the other point is -2, or at the y-axis, 0, -2, the green point. So that will be right there. And notice once I clicked on that second point, it created the line. So I don't actually do the line myself. The Hawks software just fills it in for you. All right, so I'll hit submit answer. Okay, and I'll do one more and we'll continue this. And the special kind of lines, like the less common types with horizontal and vertical lines in another video. All right, so, but the process is the same. All right, so this was similar to the one I just did, so I'm going to skip this one. This is also similar. Now I want to do this one because this will be an example where the x and y intercept are the same. All right, so it's y equal to 2x. And so I'll show that, okay, let's say I did it like the first method, what I talked about in one of the earlier videos is that there's 2 methods. The way I've been doing it has been method 1, where I find the x-intercept and y-intercept. Now this is good I got to this example because this is an example in which the x-intercept and y-intercept are the same. So I'll show that. So x-intercept, that's some x value and 0 for the y coordinate. And so you let y equal to 0. And so that's 0 equal to 2x. And then you would divide by 2. Zero divided by 2 is 0, so you have 0 equal to x. So that means the x-intercept is 0, 0. Now, if I do the y-intercept, so that's 0 for some x value and then some number for the y value. So you let x be 0. And the equation is y equal to 2x. So it'd be y equal to 2 times 0. So that's 0. And so we get the same point, 0, 0. So the x-intercept and y-intercept are the same. Same point. And we need 2 points to graph a line. We need 2 distinct points, so they have to be different points. So need 2 points to graph a line. One of the points we can use is that same point that we got for the x and y intercepts, 0, 0. So we can use 0, 0 as one of the 2 points. Now I got to find the second point, and that's where I'm going to choose another value for x. And it's really not much logic or much thought into what I choose. I just pick x equal to 1. All right, and I plug it into the equation. And the equation is y equal to 2x. So it'll be y equal to 2 times 1. But that's 2. All right, so this is the y value I get when I plug in, when I use x equal to 1. So that means I have the point 1, 2. Remember, you always put x first and then the y coordinate. So one of the points is 1, 2, and I could use 0, 0 as the other point. Now it's good that I did this one because this was a case where the x and y intercept are the same point. I said that can happen, doesn't happen often. And in this case, it happened. I had 0, 0. And so what you need to do is find a second point that's different. Can't have them both be 0, 0. And so I just choose another x value, and I chose 1. Plug 1 in to the equation, and you'll get 2 for y. So the 2 points, 0, 0, and 1, 2. All right, so I'm just doing a rough picture of it before I plot it in Hawks. So let's say that's point A, 0, 0. That's here. And then point B, 1, 2. So I go to the right 1 unit and up 2 units. So that's like right there. And then the line that connects them. And so the picture in Hawks, so the software should plot something that looks like that if I'm using those 2 points. Right, so the 2 points, 0, 0, and 1, 2. So I'm just going to click 0, 0. So left click my mouse and then it forms that dot. And then 1, 2. Go up to the right one and then up 2. So that's here. And then it creates the line for me. And then I hit submit answer. All right, so hopefully with this video, I've done enough examples that you can go through the Certify and do most of the homework. I'm going to do one more video going over the less common forms, which is a vertical line and a horizontal line.